Caught my mom signing explicit details to her boyfriend, so now I'm learning faster just to tell them to stop. My mom's been involved with this new guy for a few months now. To be fair, enough time has passed for me to stop referring to him as the new guy, but he's not my dad and I guess that will always make him feel like the new guy. According to movie logic, I'm supposed to hate him for trying to replace my father or whatever, but the truth is, I like him. I like him so much that I've been learning how to use sign language to improve our communication because new guy happens to be deaf. He can read lips, which is how I've been communicating with him. My mom didn't waste any time learning sign language at the beginning of their romance and she's at the point now where she can have full conversations without using her voice. I was really proud of her and so was new guy. I'm not on their level yet, but I've had enough practice to follow a conversation that's not too complicated. My plan was to surprise new guy on his birthday, which is 2 months from now, and wish him a happy birthday as well as officially welcoming him to the family in sign language. However, I never factored in the amount of dirty talk my mom and new guy were having in sign language. Not knowing that I can understand them, my mom and new guy have gotten disturbingly comfortable exposing their sex life in my company. It didn't matter if we were at the dinner table or watching TV, I would constantly catch so many dirty descriptions being communicated between the two of them. They are worse than horny teenagers, and I should know, I am one. Number 17-year-old son should ever witness his mother use her fingers to demonstrate how wet her vagina is. It's gotten to the point where I'm no longer willing to wait until new guy's birthday to make it known that I can understand sign language because holy fuck I need my eyes to not see this shit anymore. This is an ongoing fuck up. 99% pure horror for me. Wait or them to do it again then just awkwardly sign can you not without saying a word. I want to hear that pin drop / number 17-year-old son should ever witness his mother use her fingers to demonstrate how wet her vagina is. Update 1. The new man in my mom's life is deaf. My mom really likes him and so do I. It's safe to say they're in the honeymoon phase of their relationship, and as the teenage son of a single mom who's now madly in love, it's both great and gross at the same time. The gross part I'll unpack in a moment. My plan was to surprise new guy on his upcoming birthday by revealing that I've secretly been learning sign language for months and my first unspoken words to him would have been happy birthday and welcome to the family. I came to realize that learning sign language in secret came at the cost of understanding my mom and new guy whenever the two of them low-key use sign language to talk dirty in my presence. I've lost count of how many random times I've caught my mom using her discreet sign language skills to let new guy know how deep into him she was and how much deeper into her she would love for him to be once they were both in bed. The wet vagina incident I alluded to in my original post was one of too many examples that prompted me to abandon the birthday surprise and set in motion my plan to inform new guy and my mom sooner rather than later that I understand enough sign language to follow a basic conversation or at the very least interpret individual words to make sense of simple sentences. Update 2. Instead of informing new guy and my mom that I've been learning sign language on the side, I decided to ask new guy to personally teach me sign language in his free time. That way no one needs to know, other than thousands of strangers on the internet, that I understood my mom and new guy whenever they were talking dirty. It was the best approach I could think of that would encourage new guy and my mom to keep their sign language non-sexual around me and spare us all an awkward situation. That being said, I didn't let them off the hook that easily. My first sign language lesson with new guy happened 2 days ago. He's actually a really good sign language teacher when he's not being seduced by my mom. He even promised to teach me swear words. Towards the end of the lesson I asked him about some of the things I've seen my mom sign to him. In order to sell how new I was to sign language, I first had to pretend struggle how to make the wet vagina sign in front of new guy. It was almost impossible to keep a straight face when I noticed the growing horror in new guy's eyes as soon as he realized what I was trying to communicate. He was quick to intervene and prevent me from finishing the vagina sign, which prompted him to reveal one of his first golden rules: no skipping ahead to pro-level sign language. Apparently my mom's vagina falls under advanced sign language skills and therefore will not be addressed at all. Speaking of my mom, she's been keeping her sign language relatively safe for son since my interest in learning sign language went public. However, this morning I did catch her complimenting new guy's butt in sign language. It was weird because now that she knows I'm learning, she feels the need to teach me too. And based on what happened this morning, she seems to think it's hilarious to teach me words like nice ass. Just when I thought I had the upper hand. This is still an ongoing fuck up, but not as bad as before. I hope. TL, doctor, the guy my mom's dating is deaf. Because I like the dude, I decided to learn sign language in secret and was planning to surprise him on his upcoming birthday by communicating in sign language. Little did I know that secretly understanding sign language would expose me to disturbingly intimate conversations between my mom and the new man in her life. As per my update, I decided to ask new guy to teach me sign language so that everyone in the house is aware that I am learning and avoid having intimate sign language conversations in my company. Part of my plan backfired, thanks to my comedian of a mother having some fun at my expense by Jedi teaching me how she compliments new guy's nice ass in sign language. Oop, sign language is valuable even without the soap opera. I cannot recommend it enough. I want to know where this is going, somewhere unspeakable if you ask me. Update 3. My mom got remarried this past weekend. Her new husband has been a good partner to her since day one. My relationship with him has been positive too. However, the beginning of our relationship was somewhat bumpy. Communication came with a couple of challenges when my mom introduced me to the new guy in her life because he was deaf. New guy was able to read lips, so he could understand me when I spoke to him, but my mom and I didn't understand sign language at the time, which meant new guy had to put his words on paper or on his phone in order to communicate with me or my mom. That being said, love motivated my mom to learn sign language as soon as possible. As my mom's relationship with new guy grew, so did her sign language skills. She gradually transitioned from verbally saying please sign slower to constructing sentences in sign language like she's kung fu fighting a fly. I was proud of my mom's progress. So was new guy. No one put pressure on me to learn sign language. It was never an expectation. But I liked new guy enough to want to learn his language, so I did, but in secret. My plan was to low-key learn as much sign language as I could before new guy's birthday, and then, when the time came, not only wish him a happy birthday in sign language, but also explain to him that I've been practicing. Little did I know that my plan would come at a cost. Learning sign language in secret opened my eyes to some of the things new guy and my mom were signing to each other when they thought I couldn't understand. The most disturbing example of this was when I caught my mom telling new guy how wet her vagina was. To this day, I wish I could somehow unsee that because it became the first thing I thought of when I saw my first wet vagina in person. I was forced to update my plan and ask new guy if he was willing to teach me sign language. I figured if my mom and new guy were aware of me learning sign language at home, then it would make them think twice about talking dirty in front of me. It worked. The wet vagina comments came to an end and my sign language lessons with new guy actually made us learn more about each other. All was well until my mom caught me teaching my GF dirty words in sign language and blaming new guy for teaching me said, unsaid words. New guy addressed the elephant in the room during our next lesson, forcing me to come clean about my secret sign language lessons and the fact that I caught him and my mom talking dirty in front of me. Both of us agreed to avoid telling my mom about the wet vagina incident because the situation was awkward and uncomfortable enough. New guy explained to my mom that I had been learning sign language at home, and elsewhere, which he was unaware of, and that elsewhere was where I learned the dirty words, which was not totally true but okay. Everyone awkwardly moved on. Since then, I've become an adult and moved out of my mom's house while my mom and new guy eventually got engaged and recently got married. All of the above, excluding the engagement and the wedding, is not new information to the people who followed my story since my first post. End of recap. Cut to the wedding reception where I decided to be bold as fuck and end off my speech by telling everyone what I learned while living with my mom and new guy. I said I learned how to sign because of them, which I was demonstrating during my speech. Cue wholesome applause. I said I also realized how real the attraction was when I caught my mom locking eyes with new guy and using sign language to express how into him she was. I glanced at new guy to see if he was telepathically trying to tell me to stop talking, but he seemed to enjoy my speech like everyone else, so I continued. Instead of telling the audience what my mom communicated to new guy, I asked everyone to follow my lead and reach up with both hands, palms facing the body, and then connect the fingertips before lowering the hands like it's meditation time. Cool. Next. Form an upside-down triangle with both hands by connecting the tip of the thumbs and the tip of the index fingers while making fists with the other fingers. At that moment my mom's jaw was on the floor. New guy's face was so red he looked photoshopped. My mom, new guy and yours truly were not the only people at the wedding who understood sign language. Many of new guy's friends and family knew what I was signing and didn't seem to know how to react. I asked if anyone was brave enough to translate. One of the guests shouted Reddit boy. I looked around until I spotted the person shouting. It was a random guy at the back. Shouters always seem to be the random guy at the back. Random guy's Jamaican accent came out at max volume when he asked me in front of everyone if I was the young broda who posted on Reddit about my mom's vagina. Before that moment, I thought I was prepared for any outcome when I decided to include the wet vagina story in my speech, for better or worse, come what may, but I must admit, I was not prepared for the possibility of an unapologetically loudmouth Redditor being present at the wedding and putting me on the spot like that. I dodged Jamaican guy's question and abruptly said, "Thanks bro." I was so taken aback afterwards that my brain went blank. I had no idea where I was going with my speech anymore, so without any warning whatsoever, I automatically decided to go ahead and toast to my mom and new guy, who were both struggling to hide how mortified they were. I spent the rest of the night trying to avoid almost everyone at the wedding, which was impossible because I was still at the wedding. My mom, who was now on the verge of disowning me, managed to track me down and ask if I had any idea how many people from her side, including her boss, have approached her since my speech to ask what the fuck I made them all sign. I apologized and said it was supposed to be funny. My mom said I better hope she's in a better mood when she returned from her honeymoon because I had a lot of explaining to do, starting with what she heard from Jamaican guy about me accepting gifts on the internet. I assumed my mom was referring to Reddit awards because that was still a thing when I shared my original post a couple of years ago. According to my mom, Jamaican guy apparently bragged about giving me many awards because my posts about her wet vagina made him laugh. My mom made me promise to stay away from the drunk Jamaican man and to stop making sign language sound like porn to people who don't sign. My new stepdad, aka new guy, cornered me in the men's room to thank me, sarcastically, for going back on our agreement and exposing both of us for knowing about Vagina Gate. He said he literally forgot that it ever happened until I signed the words wet vagina at his wedding. I apologized and explained that I thought enough time had passed for me to joke about Vagina Gate and for everyone to laugh about it. New guy said there was no such thing as enough time had passed, so it must be safe to use his wife's vagina as a punchline in public, and that he's most likely gonna spend his honeymoon sleeping on the couch for teaming up with me and keeping my mom out of the loop about where I learned dirty sign language in the first place. On the plus side though, I was able to avoid Jamaican guy at the wedding. I know now who he is and he knows who I am, in real life and on Reddit, so I'm just gonna keep the details about him as generic as possible. Now on to second story. Friend belittled my parenting and my son's weight, declaring himself a better mentor despite knowing nothing about our real struggles. I, 27F, was at a friend's house last night with a group of friends of over a decade. I had a kid when I was on the younger side and I am a single mother, so I'm the only one of my friend group with a child besides my older sister, who was also there. My son, we'll call him Adam, is 7 and I'll be fully transparent, he's a chubby kid. My ethnic background results in my build being fairly tall for a woman, and I've always been on the thicker side with plenty of muscle. However, since having a child, the pandemic, and working from home, again I'll be transparent, I've gained a little more weight than usual as well. My son's biological father also has an ethnic background that is known for being thicker built. As a result, my son has had a larger build since birth even when he was skinnier. I hate referencing my son's body like this. He always had thick legs, arms, and always felt heavier than he looked. Now back to the story. Last night one of my closest friends out of this group sort of came out of nowhere with a comment saying, "Walking is very important, we should all get to walking more, especially Op and Adam." I sort of shot him a look because it felt out of nowhere. But I didn't say anything because honestly he's right, walking is good for you after all. He then continued and said, "Okay listen, I'm gonna just say it, Adam is too big and you guys need to lose some weight ASAP." This completely took me back and I said immediately, "You can't just say something like that." He half apologized while laughing and continued to talk about how he's not in sports and that I clearly don't motivate him to do anything, I guess because I'm also chubby. He was laughing hysterically and making fun of how my son looked and his body, and it just felt so horrible. He then went on to say that he would do better as a mentor for my son. Trying to curve the conversation in a positive way, I said, "You know what, that would be helpful actually. I'm a single mom and it is difficult to always get him to sports or get out and going, and I would definitely like to work out more and get into shape. Why don't we do something all together?" He then started going on about how much better he's gonna do and how Adam needs to stop being lazy and he needs real guidance. Now, I'm not going to list excuses or deep dive into the stuff we've been through in the past few years, but I will say it's been a lot. What I will say though is this friend and L are close, but I've lived in a different state for several years and he definitely doesn't know enough about our home life to have made those comments. I have played women's professional football for 2 years and my son was also in football, soccer, and we go on walks daily with our dog. A recent traumatic event left me severely injured and resulted in my son being traumatized as well. He now has severe separation anxiety and we only just now worked up to me being able to leave for the store around the corner while he's with my mom, sister, nephew, and stepdad. My son also has a lot of sensory issues and a phobia of bugs. I wish I was kidding. It's gotten so bad that it's hard now to take him to outside events without complete meltdowns. And yes, we have been working on it, but it is difficult especially in the summer months. I have still found ways to get him into indoor sports and still get time in the sun at parks, zoos, and aquariums. I have made my best effort as a single parent and I will admit that I have failed. There's been times that we couldn't afford the healthy option. Or times I've worked 12-hour shifts and haven't been able to cook. I will take responsibility as a parent that my child has gotten chubbier, but why make fun of and comment on a child's weight? I would understand if he was severely overweight or obese and a doctor or family member had to step in and say something, but even then I don't feel like the way it was said was kind or constructive. It kind of felt like he was waiting for an opportunity to make fun of mine and my son's weight. And to outright say you could parent my child better is way over the line, especially as a childless male. I've talked to my sister and other family members about it. She was also uncomfortable with the comments. I think I'm going to talk to him because I do value our friendship, but would I be overreacting if I took a step back from our friendship entirely? First, thank you to everyone who showed me support. I honestly did not think I would get this many responses, but I appreciate all of the insight and kind comments. I don't have anything juicy to update unfortunately, other than that my friend has texted me since the incident, but only to invite me to a group event. I haven't responded yet, but I'm contemplating if I should talk to him there or bring it up over text/phone call. Either way I will update you all once the conversation is had. For clarification, my son was not there when the comment were made. He will sometimes accompany me to event with his friend, but like I said, all of this friend group is child-free, so we usually are not doing child-friendly activities. When we have done child-centered activities together, he has never brought up anything negative to Adam and has always said kind things. My son does regularly visit the doctor and his weight has never been brought up as an issue. He has never been recommended any diets or weight loss by any pediatrician because he's 7 and still growing. I did get worried because of his comments that maybe I was blind to Adam's weight gain, as his mother, but family and friends I've asked have confirmed, without bias, that he is a perfectly healthy boy. We do eat a generally healthy diet on a day-to-day basis. I do impress on him the importance of diet and exercise, and we have cut out fast food, save for emergencies and road trips. And he is signed up for a ton of summer camps and sports. That's another reason why his comments felt strange, because he is aware of how much effort I am putting into making sure he is more active since the incident that threw our life out of whack. Adam has only been out of sports for 4 months and hasn't been signed up since due to us moving and his separation anxiety, but he was a very active kid before everything that happened. I cut out some dialogue for length purposes, but I absolutely said more to him to shut down the conversation. I said multiple times to drop it and called him an asshole by the end. He didn't take any of it seriously and sort of rolled his eyes at my attempts to call him out for being a jerk. I shouldn't have just let it go, but I felt like I wasn't going to be heard one way or another. There were some drinks had by him earlier in the night. I see a lot of comments mentioning that he might be interested in me. My friend is gay, so it is strictly platonic. I don't think he's negging me to be with me unless he's some sort of LGBT double agent. Again, thank you all for the kind words. I'll update y'all with what happens after I speak with him. Update 1. All of your insight definitely helped me in my decision to not remain friends with this person. However, in light of recent events, it seems I wouldn't have had to anyways. So on to the update. I mentioned in my original post that everything this friend said about my child was said in a room full of our mutual friends. Well, not too long ago we all attended a gay pride event together and ended up all hanging out. I left early, mom duties, but they all continued to hang out and drink. Apparently after I left, the friend who insulted my kid, Jerry, and our other mutual friend, Kyle, who owned the apartment, got into an argument that grew into a physical fight. Jerry got extremely violent and ended up biting through Kyle's finger and punching his girlfriend in the face when she tried to intervene. He also broke over $1,000 worth of things in their apartment, and from what I heard, the entire place was covered in blood. The next morning I get a call from Jerry and he tells me his version of what happened. He was drunk. He blacked out. He had no clue until the next morning. It wasn't that bad. I then spoke with Kyle and his girlfriend and got the full version of the night's events that I detailed above. They also spoke with me about how disappointing and uncomfortable his comments about my son Adam made them, as they all know and love my son and know he is well taken care of. Long story short, we have all decided to end our respective friendships with Jerry. His use of manipulation, the blatant lying, and his strange and rude comments have all come to the surface, and as sad as we all are to be losing a friend of over a decade, this has to happen. He is obviously not happy about it and has been contacting us all frequently, calling us assholes and saying we all abandoned him. Anyway, not the cheeriest of updates, but thank you all again for sticking it through. I'm glad I was able to make my decision to distance without also having to lose my other friends in the group, but I feel so horrible that they had to go through that. My gripe with Jerry seems so small now compared to what happened. It seems to have really traumatized Kyle and his girlfriend. But I'm glad that we can all be done with the drama and drunken tirades as well. Thanks for reading.